everyone. Welcome to Deliberately Intentional with me, your host, Remi. Today's topic is going to be a hot one, and it is disciplining your kids. I know. Everyone, okay, we need to talk about where this came from. I was responding to a comment that I had seen online because I constantly find myself online trying to correct the things that I see that are wrong. And they were talking about beating kids. It literally was the topic. And I had commented that there's so many other ways to discipline your kids. And the person had said, so is the Bible wrong? Because the Bible says spare not the rod or some crap like that. And I'm like, so that means you should beat the living daylights out of them? And I find that this is a topic that, especially for the Nigerian community and for the religious communities, in various households, people seem to think that the Bible says you should beat your kids. Do you think that that's the only way to raise well-behaved, well-managed, structured, disciplined kids? Because it really, truly isn't. I was the kid that they beat the living shit out of. No, I'm sorry. There's no way to put it. There's no other way to put it than to say that I was still beaten up until I was like 21 or 22. And my dad was not a light beater. This was not a smack or one hit. He would beat you to the point that you were naked at the end of the day. If it didn't start out naked, you would end up naked. Humiliating. All that did, it didn't create fear in me. It created fearlessness. You would get to the point that you're like, well, fuck it. No offense. Yes, I'm being as explicit as I need to be, because that was the point that I was in. You end up being so angered by it, you no longer fear it. I didn't fear getting beaten. I was like, yeah, okay, you're gonna beat me, but I'm still gonna say what I'm gonna say. You can beat, you can do this. By the time I ran away and I didn't want to have anything to do with him, every time he beat me, it literally killed all the love that I had for him. Whatever he was trying to teach did not get taught. It was a case of I would tune out. All I could remember was the beating. It didn't teach me anything. It made me even more rebellious. Every single thing he said not to do, I did exactly that. So as a mom now, or even for many years, like even before we get into the mom bit, for many years, I was angry about so many different things. But a lot of it was the helplessness that I felt growing up, having been beaten so much, having been humiliated so much. It stayed with me for a very long time, whereby I would apply the emotions I had from that experience to so many other experiences that were completely unconnected. I know, weird, right? So with all of that, with everything that I just gave you, how did I pull myself away from that and decide that, okay, you know what? I don't want to be that. Well, by simply picking that apart. Okay, I get that as a parent, you want to, okay, this child has frustrated you, or you've told them multiple times. But just because you've said it one way, have you tried another way? Why is beating the first thing that comes to you? Now, considering I was beaten so much and I know how much I loved my dad and how that changed over the years, I realized that I don't want my son to hate me. I just don't. I don't want any child to hate me, to be honest. I'm like, I'm going to keep my hands. I'm going to find another way. I'm going to be a better parent than the one that I had. Granted, our parents did not know any better, and I've excused this many times. He did not know any better. He didn't find any tools. Most parents were still trying to figure themselves out, so they didn't think about finding better ways to talk to or relate or discipline their kids, because there are other ways. You don't have to discipline your kid only by beating the living daylights out of them. That's not the only way. And in my case, I feel like there were a lot of frustrations. There were other frustrations that were going on that they took out the beating on us for. And that's just in general. But the last time he beat me, I said that was the last time anybody was going to lay their fingers on me. And I'm like, anybody outside of, obviously, we were raised not to raise our hands on our parents or to fight back. But I'm not the person. I think that there was anybody that even came close to that, I would be looking for the nearest thing that I could use to hurt the person back if you as much as laid a finger on me. That was how angry I was about that. And so, of course, how do you now discipline your own kids? Anytime my son did anything wrong, I took something away. I'm not saying that means that, oh, okay, let your kid just do whatever, be loosey-goosey, as I hear a lot of people say, or spoil the child. I hear that a lot too. That's not what I'm saying. Not at all. I'm saying that if you understand how important and how how important your love is and your happiness is to your child and how your child's happiness matters to them as well, you can use that instead. You simply saying you're disappointed about something can make a difference. You simply putting it out there and just having a frown and your child seeing that, okay, mom's not happy about something, will make them want to correct their behavior. By understanding the various things that are important to them and then using that to get them to do the things you want to do, yes, you want to call that manipulation, absolutely, whatever you want to call it. But I call that intentional parenting instead, which I talk about often. But since this one is about beating, aren't there other ways to raise your kid that you don't have to beat them? Because there are. Now, let me not make it sound like I became this overnight. I had to do a lot of healing myself to get to this point, but I absolutely did. You can too. You don't want to raise kids that are going to hate you. You want your kids to love you. And so if you take anything away from this, try to remember how being beaten made you feel. And then you'll realize that you need to find another way to raise your kids that don't include beating. Yeah, the Bible might say, spare not the rod. As I said, that particular Bible quote always rubs me the wrong way. And I understand that some people want to follow the Bible to a T, but you should also realize that you're living in the modern day society. And those same things that you think you need to do to raise your kids, there is another way. There's a more modern way. Find it. And of course, you can always ask for help if you need it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Deliberately Intentional. You don't have to beat the living daylights out of your kids to get them to listen. Thank you, Producer Marv, for another amazing episode. Thank you guys also for tuning in. You know where to find me. Spotify, Apple, YouTube on Wednesdays. Thanks, everyone.